Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Happy Monday to you. We have got some big news coming here with the Awakening preview video showcasing the Iron Twins Fortress. So I'm going to watch that and then we'll talk about it, give you some reaction and context to that news video, and we'll also get your week kicked off. We will go through everything happening in game with CVC and what events and different stuff happening in Raid Shadow Legends to get you headed off and launched into the week. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so without further ado, let's check this video out, and then I'll pause at certain points, and we'll break some of the stuff down.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our update preview series dedicated to Awakening. Our last episode discussed the new mechanics of summoning souls and getting blessings for your champions. And today, we're delving deep into the Iron Twins Fortress, a new dungeon where you'll earn the soul coins and soul essence needed for Awakening. This imposing fortress works a little differently to other dungeons. It's divided into the 4 affinities, with its affinity changing each day. Like with the affinity keeps, there will be a set schedule for each day's affinity, meaning you can plan your siege ahead of time. Each affinity will have 15 stages at launch, and your progression...
Yeah, so it's going to be different affinities similar to the potion keeps, and the affinity you're going up against, you are really going to want to counter that. So in the magic keep, you're going to want to bring force affinity champions, because the way the boss is going to work is it's going to be very difficult if you are not countering the affinity effectively.
Is unique to each affinity. This means you can't focus all your efforts getting to stage 15 on the magic affinity, for example, to unlock the stages for all other affinities. Keeping track of the current affinity is vital for success in this dungeon, as you'll see when we break down the Iron Twins skills. As for entering the dungeon, you'll need energy and a new resource, fortress keys. Like with faction crypts in the Doom Tower, you only get a set number of fortress keys each day, 6 to be exact. So make sure you use them. If you fail a stage, you won't lose a fortress key, but you will lose the...
I don't know if I like this mechanic. I don't know why, I don't know why it's taking energy as well. Like we don't see Faction Wars taking energy. We don't see Doom Tower taking energy. Like, if you're only gonna be able to do it with these keys, why would it take energy? Like the clan boss or the demon lord doesn't take energy. The Hydra doesn't take energy. This is the first time they've done this where you have to have a key or like a special way to unlock this stage, and then you also have to invest a bunch of energy. So I don't like how they set that up personally.
Energy, so keep an eye on your reserves. We know how to enter the fortress. Now let's talk about its masters, the Iron Twins. As soon as you enter the dungeon, you launch straight into a battle with the Iron Twins. There are no waves of minions to fight here. This is a good thing, given that the Iron Twins are as tough as literal nails, you know.
Yep, so no waves. It's going to be like the spider. You just load in and boom, it is a boss fight.
Being a huge metal monstrosity. But before we dive into the Iron Twins' individual skills, we need to talk about Iron Brand, their unique unblockable and unremovable debuff. On its own, Iron Brand does nothing, but you should keep a sharp eye on the debuff's duration on each of your champions. The Iron Twins have a super powerful skill that does major damage depending on the current duration of any Iron Brand debuffs, so failing to manage this debuff is a recipe for disaster. With that out of the way, let's dig into exactly what the Iron Twins have in their arsenal. The first skill is Voltaic Pendulums. This sees the Iron Twins fire.
Yeah, so I think if I heard that right, when it comes to that really important debuff that you can't block or resist or anything like that, it's going to be heavily dependent on the duration and how many turns it has left on it. So that means we've got an opportunity here for champions to have a massive surge in power that reduce ally debuff duration, if you're following me there. So let's say you've got decreased defense on your entire team for 2 turns. A champion that wipes through and reduces the duration from 2 to 1. Now that role is very, very, very rare in the game, but I bet you we start to see Plarium start to release champions that have that ability, because I believe right now it's super rare. It's like Demetha, Skull Crusher. But I think there's like 3 or 4 champions that do it. But anyway, those champions could be very, very strong against this boss if I'm hearing that skill correctly. And I hope we get more champions that have that ability.
Is Voltaic Pendulums. This sees the Iron Twins firing 2 bladed pendulums at 1 champion, decreasing their crit rate and then placing a weakened debuff if they already have crit rate debuffs. The twins then electrocute the rest of the party, first decreasing their attack, before then decreasing the defense of each champion who has a decrease attack debuff on them. Talk about shocking. So, first tip, bring a champion who can cleanse debuffs or block them entirely. While it won't negate Iron Brand, it will take any other debuffs the Iron Twins can throw at you off the table. Trust us, you'll need to be at your full strength if you want to come out on top. Next up, Fires of Insanity. The Iron Twins scorch your entire party and place Iron Brand debuffs on each champion, with the duration of each Iron Brand dependent on each champion's defense stat. The champion with the highest defense gets 10 turns of Iron Brand, the next highest gets 9, the next gets 8, and so on. If a champion already has an Iron Brand debuff on them, its duration is simply increased by that same number of turns. That's not all. Oh no. Every time the Iron Twins use this...
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, okay, it'd be important to bring super high HP, low defense champions, but it doesn't really, it's not based on a flat number. It's based on where they rank within your team. So even if you bring a bunch of low defense, high HP champions, it's still going to be the same effect. It's going to be like the 10, 8, and whatever, kind of scaling down from there.
Skill, their defense stat increases by a set amount for the rest of the battle, with extra increases for every champion with...
Okay, so wait, so maybe you can't bring the opposite affinity? How's this work?
Their defense stat increases by a set amount for the rest of the battle, with extra increases for... Its duration is simply increased by that same number of turns. That's not all. Oh no. Every time the Iron Twins use this skill, their defense stat increases by a set amount for the rest of the battle, with extra increases for every champion with a different affinity to theirs. This is why you need to pay...
Oh, okay, so maybe bringing champions the same affinity. Now I said kind of earlier in the video that you would want to, the affinity is going to be very important. You may want to counter the affinity like force versus magic. You may want to bring the same affinity to that dungeon. So if it's a magic affinity boss, you may want to bring a bunch of magic affinity champions to lower, to kind of pseudo lower its defense.
Pay attention to the dungeon's current affinity. Bring champions with the wrong affinities, and you'll make the Iron Twins even stronger. And they'll keep getting stronger every time they use this skill. You also need to manage your champion's defense stats, as those with higher stats will receive longer Iron Brand debuffs. Remember, the longer the duration of Iron Brand, the more damage the Iron Twins will do with their super-powered skill, which we're getting to, I promise. There is one silver lining at least. Once the Iron Twins drop below 40% HP, they'll stop using the skill, though getting them to that point is a different story. Okay, skill 3, Ruinous Swath. Ruinous Swath mirrors Fires of Insanity, except this skill applies Iron Brand based on your champion's attack rather than their defense. The champion with the highest attack gets the longest Iron Brand this time. It's the same story with the Iron Twins' stat increases. Every time they use this skill, they'll get stronger. But this time, it's their attack that gets boosted rather than their defense. The Twins will also stop using the skill when their HP drops below 40%. Okay, so you have all these Iron Brand debuffs. Let's finally discuss this super-powered skill which puts them to use. Enter Doomsday Machine, the Iron Twins' 4th skill. To start, the Iron Twins attack your entire team with 2 AoE hits. The first hit applies or extends any Iron Brand debuffs based on each champion's defense, with the second doing the same but based on attack. Think of it like the 2 previous skills rolled into one. Fortunately, it will increase the duration of Iron Brand by fewer turns. The champion with the highest attack or defense will get 5 turns of Iron Brand. The next highest...
This is getting a little bit, yeah, it's very, I guess it could be a bad thing because it's going to be hard to kind of keep track of for players that are being introduced to this mechanic. But it could also be a good thing because this is very manipulatable. Is that a word? Manipulatable? This can be manipulated by the player when you are building teams, choosing who has the highest defense, who has the highest attack, and manipulating these numbers so that these different durations and stuff get placed on your tanky champion or your damage dealing champion and stuff like that. So it's going to take a very specialized team setup, it looks like, to get these numbers heading in the right direction to benefit you.
4, the next highest 3, and you get the picture. But remember, it does this twice, so if one champion has more attack and defense than the rest of your team, they'll receive another 10 turns of Iron Brand. The Iron Twins then fire a devastating laser at your entire team, with the damage of this energy beam increasing based on the duration of each Iron Brand debuff. If that's not scary enough, this searing ray ignores 30% of your champion's defense stat. And it also increases the Iron Twins' attack and defense by 4% with each use, plus an extra little bit once again for any champions whose affinity is different to theirs. Holy moly! That's some serious damage. Also, just as a little reminder that Iron Brand cannot be blocked or removed, hopefully now you understand why managing Iron Brand is vital to succeeding in this fight. Otherwise, you'll be sweeping up what remains of your champions with a broom. There's still one more weapon in the Iron Twins' arsenal, and that's their passive skill, Retaliatory Launch. Every time their HP drops below a certain threshold, the Twins fire a missile barrage at your whole team, then remove any debuffs from themselves. The Twins will also increase their turn meter by 10% every time.
Kind of like an ice golem mechanic. Where was that? Okay, so if we back up and look at that for a second, it's kind of similar to the ice golem, where at every breaking point of HP or at certain ones, you're gonna get a massive attack on your team. And this one's gonna be a lot more often. I believe the ice golem is like 75, 50, 25. This is gonna be like every 15%, looks like. So those constant barrages as you damage the
then remove any debuffs from themselves. The Twins will also increase their turn meter by 10% every time one of your champions receives a buff, unless they're under a decreased speed debuff. Similar to other...
So we're back to saying debuff. This person that narrates these Plarium videos, they fixed it for a while. They were saying debuff. Now they're back to saying debuff. Bears, that's what that reminds me of.
Bosses, they are immune to turn meter reduction effects, along with crowd control debuffs like stun and freeze. They also take less and less damage from multi-hit skills. That armor's not made of normal iron, we'll tell you that much. So, what's the best way to send this killing machine to the scrap heap? First, you'll need to build separate teams for each affinity. The more champions with differing affinities, the stronger the Iron Twins will get from many of its skills. So aim for single affinity teams where you can. Second,
yeah, so I guess you could... No, because I think they worded that wrong. Because earlier they said the iron bosses are going to get stronger for each champion that has a different affinity than them. So it's yeah, that's a little bit
resistance
confusing.
Is your friend. While Iron Brand can't be blocked or removed, it can be resisted. So load your champions up with high resistance artifacts to blunt the power of Doomsday Machine. Blocked or removed, it can be resisted. Second, resistance is your friend. While Iron Brand can't be blocked or removed, it can be resisted.
Oh, it can be resisted. I thought earlier they were talking about how it can't be manipulated at all. It's guaranteed to kind of go through, and then you're going to have to reduce its duration. It can be resisted. Okay, sorry if I misspoke earlier. I think I may have. It can be resisted. So yeah, resistance is going to be a premium stat against this boss, because that is going to be the mechanic that makes it the toughest, is that Iron Brand for like 12 turns on your teams, and then the boss absolutely popping off against you. So yeah, you're going to need huge resistance against this boss for sure.
So load your champions up with high resistance artifacts to blunt the power of Doomsday Machine. Third, while healing is important to survive the Twins' onslaught, be mindful of buffs. Unless you've placed a decreased speed debuff on the Twins, they'll increase their turn meter every time your champion receives a buff, meaning they're closer to taking you out. Fourth, and most importantly, focus on hitting hard and hitting fast. With the Twins' attack and defense constantly ticking up, they will overpower you if you let them kick into overdrive. Don't bother
now wait,
with
we gotta see a cold heart.
Importantly, focus on hitting hard and hitting fast. With the Twins...
So right here, we've got a cold heart that's about to hit with a Heart Seeker.
Attack.
Bang. So it's supposed to max out, I think it's like 10 or 15%, right? And we hit for 292, and it...
In defense.
That wasn't even 10%, I don't think. That's close. I mean, was it full before then?
Hitting hard and hitting fast. With the...
Okay, so it's just to the right,
Twins
and
attack.
then that's the chunk that kind of goes down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks like just less than 10%. I don't know. Could be about 10%, but yeah, okay. The normal enemy max HP mechanics.
And defense constantly ticking up, they will overpower you if you let them kick into overdrive. Don't bother with multi-hit skills either. Single-hit nukes are your best countermeasure for toppling this devastating duo. We can't wait to see what ironclad strategies you all employ to take on this new dungeon. We hope this video was useful. Make sure to hit like.
Yeah, so okay, I think it's definitely going to introduce some new interesting things with all of the number manipulation and how often the debuff is kind of how many turns it's on your champions. But you can kind of get around that. But I thought it couldn't be resisted, which was really going to make champions with the decreased duration of debuffs insanely strong. The champions like Demetha and stuff. But it looks like it can be resisted. So basically what you need to know about this fortress is you got to get a tons of resistance, the auras with resistance, and just kind of be able to build the right teams around a certain affinity, and be able to get in there and get after the Iron Twins fortress. So yeah, now let's get into the rest of the stuff going on in Raid Shadow Legends. And first up, we have got the guaranteed summoning event for Turvald going on with, they did this thing for so long. This thing was like a week long, it feels like. So we've still got 2.5 days left on the guaranteed Turvald for 80 Void Shards. I did a poll over on the community tab here of the channel where 83% of people feeling that a guaranteed Turvald is not worth YOLOing 80 Void Shards for. And I tend to agree with the community being about 80-20 there on that Turvald, a very fun damage dealer. I did a dedicated guide here on the channel, and I wrote an article about this on the raidshadowpro.gg website detailing about Turvald and if he's worth 80 Void Shards and all of that. But yeah, good luck for those of you that are pulling Void Shards for Turvald, but just be wary that it may be more optimal to save your shards for other stuff. But if you are going to be pulling for Turvald, wait a little bit until you can double dip with CVC, because we have got CVC launching tomorrow, which is perfectly normal. Every other Tuesday, we get a CVC match. So prepare your forge, your books, make sure that you are doing the last stage of faction wars. You also want to avoid doing super raids during CVC, which is very important. You don't get double the points for super raids, so that's definitely something I want to hammer home to have you not waste. But yep, prepare for that launching tomorrow, and good luck in your matches. To go over the tournaments and events you want to focus on here to start your week, you do have fragments over on the right side. I'm not personally going for the epic, but for those of you that are, make sure you get 2250 in that Fire Night tournament. There is also a tag arena tournament going on right now, but this is normal and you don't have to feel horrible about skipping that one. There's no fragments in it or anything. Then we have got, under the events, the artifact enhancement going on is also going to be part of fragments, so you want to focus on making sure you get to 3,300 points in artifact enhancement. The summon rush has fragments in it. This is going to be guaranteed, or like coinciding with the Turvald and different summoning things going on. I didn't even pull up the they've got so much stuff going on here. Okay, so they've also, okay, so today they do have Hegemon, Necrit, okay, and Trunda in here as well, and Mortimer has been seeing a lot more play on like tag team arena defenses now. His peril ability being pretty insane as long as you can get it to unlock. I may have to build a Mortimer here pretty soon and start using him. But anyway, you know, Turvald at 80, Hegemon and Necrit, that is a pretty good 10x. Like, if you're an endgame player who doesn't have Hegemon or Necrit and you're close to your Mercy system, it may not be the worst time to pull shards, because Necrit is an S tier champion for sure. I wish it was a different guarantee than Turvald personally, but do keep in mind for some of you endgame players out there that we do have a Hegemon and a Necrit up for grabs and a 10x, which can be good if you're close to your Mercy pulls. But the other stuff, we've got Dungeon Divers coinciding with the fragments here as well, where you have got to get up to 2850 on the points to keep pace there and scoop up all the fragments. And you also want to make sure you are setting a bunch of one-person defenses so that you can drop down a little bit in preparation for scooping up a bunch of points in the next CVC. Look at that. We've got Mad Capper we can feast on live. I'm about to go 1-0 on Mad Capper and hold that over him the rest of my life. Here we go. We're going to go 3-0 on Mad Capper, and then I'm going to screenshot it, and I'm going to use it in a thumbnail. Make sure I send it to him at some point. My 3-0 on my teammate Mad Capper here. But yeah, anyway, make sure you're getting ready, because the tag team arena can be a massive source of points in CVC. And there's our screenshot we needed. And we have also got a brand new Doom Tower. We're coming up to the turn of a new month, which means the turn of a new Doom Tower. So get ready to blast through and work up the proper tier. What I always like to recommend is check your progress missions before you choose if you want to focus on, like if you're a more like mid-game, end-game player. Before you choose, do you prioritize the normal side or the hard side? You want to check your progress missions because sometimes you'll have one that's like clear floor 80 on normal or clear floor 80 on hard. And you want to make sure you're going up the right tier to get to there as soon as possible. So keep that in mind when you're diving into the Doom Tower. And now we got to dive into the shop and see if there's anything worth going over here. A special void pack with purchase limit of 3 means that it's not going to be a top tier deal. This would be a good deal for end game players that are high spenders though. We know the drill on some of this stuff. These 101% extra mini mix packs are awesome. If you're a spender on raid, that's one of the best offers that you can get in game, so keep that in mind. This pack string, yeah, sacred shard pack strings are not going to cut it for me. Faction accessories, and then we get a summer's end offer. This one's definitely worth plugging in. So let's go with silver 200, and then we've got 1,000 energy with 22 ancient shards. I guess that is $25. I thought that was going to be huge for a second, but comes out as worth $37.60 as far as fair value of typical offers we see in game. So yeah, not bad. Not bad. It's not quite like a 2.0. It's not worth 50. So it's not an insane offer, but decent compared to what we're typically going to see. All in all, I would say for most people, the recommend from me would be the 101% extra, because $3 for some of the stuff you're getting here, or just those offers in general tend to be some of the best ones. So alrighty, let me know what you think down below about the Iron Twins Fortress and all that, and what your first thoughts were, because it's going to be exciting to get a new boss in the game. And remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I am actually going to be back to streaming here. I was waiting on kind of getting things up and rolling with the website and been busy with Diablo Immortal and everything kind of going on, but I'm getting things to a more manageable place. I was waiting on a new overlay, a new like animated setup for stream, but I was finally able to stream again yesterday. I'm going to try to do that a lot more often here and stream some fun things like working on the tier list and hanging out with you guys and doing different stuff here around Raid and other games that we play. But yeah, anyway, that is the update on what is happening here to kick off Monday. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.